Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Bertha. How are you? You
Um,
look
um,
like you're running.
I'm walking. I just got off the bus. I had to drop my car off at my mechanics, so I should be home in a couple of minutes.
Or speaker.
So, so I'm going to turn my. I'm on my phone, so I'm going to try to mute myself.
All
Uh,
righty.
but before that, um, okay. Well, you're about ready to start. I just had a quick question for you.
Sure.
This has nothing to do with Dare to Declare. It
Okay.
has to do with historic Sugartown.
Oh.
And I was reading somewhere that there used to be 5 Black churches in historic Sugartown. And I was shocked to see that. And I thought, let me ask Heather about it. And so,
Yeah, we never could substantiate that. Like
oh,
we knew of the one which is not near Sugartown at all. It's up in, the other end of Malvern off of what is it, Backton Hill Road. And there was apparently another church that was somewhere in Sugartown, but we could never locate where it was. We don't know. I know that reference was in Acres of Quakers, and we don't know what the source material was. We could never figure it out.
oh,
And yeah, it's very strange, but there's definitely a Black community in Sugartown. In fact, the schools, both the public and the Quaker school, both in the photographs in the late 1800s, it was integrated. It's fascinating. So
it's a Quaker school there.
the Quaker school there was a Quaker school right across the street from where the general store is. Yeah, it was the earliest building in Sugartown.
Oh,
So yeah, it's it's an interesting community, but we were scratching our heads over the five schools for the long or 5 churches for the longest time and never could find anything more about it.
oh,
So
okay. All
so
right.
there's my quick answer.
Well, I appreciate that because, like I said, I was stunned and I thought, oh my Lord, who, where were they and all of that? Okay. All right. Well,
So
so can you mute me? And because I'm almost.
yes, there. I just muted you. I want to welcome everybody. I'm going to start out with we have a small group. We have 2 Berthas, a Chaz and a Kim, and Beth Krallis from the Community Foundation is helping me navigate all things shared screen. So we're going to get started. I'm going to open with this. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we're finally here having our Dare to Declare info sessions. It seems like we've been announcing that we were going to roll these out for some time. I want to introduce Kim Andrews, who's also on the call from um, our team here at America 250 Friends.
Hey, everybody.
And we have Chaz Wargo. You're from St. David's Church, correct? You're still on mute. There you go.
St. David's Church in Radnor, correct.
Great, welcome. And I'm guessing you got the information I sent you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure. Well, we've already heard from Bertha Jackman. I'm going to turn it over for Bertha Short to say hello, if she's there. If she's not, we'll catch up with her after maybe. So basically today, I'm going to go over all things related to our resources for Dare to Declare for your declaration reading at your organization.
Okay,
So dare to declare.
Yeah.
Is somebody
Bertha,
speaking?
Bertha Short.
Oh, hi, Bertha. Hi.
Oh,
Which organization are you with?
well, I'm a friend of Bertha Jackman.
Oh, very good. Well, that's a good organization to be involved with.
Right.
Or a good association, I guess is a better word. So, um, anyway, Dare to Declare is our chance to hear and discuss the Declaration of Independence as we hit America's 250th birthday. What word we've been discovering over the last several months as we've become immersed into it is very few Americans have actually read it, or it's been some time now. And I can say, despite devoting my career to preservation of America's heritage, I know that our 250 planning was the first time that I had read it since high school. So here we are. So the Declaration of Independence is core to our American values. It establishes foundation American principles like equality, liberty, and the right to self-govern. It continues to inspire and guide national debates, civil rights movements, and global democratic aspirations. It serves as our moral compass and a symbol of revolution, reminding us that governments derive their power from the consent of the governed and exist to protect unalienable rights. I heard a quote recently that I think is so powerful as we get into planning declaration readings. Thomas Jefferson reportedly referred to it as an expression of the American mind. And I think that says a lot, and it's a wonderful sentiment. And it's from the guy himself who was the chief author of the Declaration. Our Dare to Declare initiative was conceived by Rose Fennell, who is the superintendent of Valley Forge National Historical Park. If you've ever met Rose, you'll know that she loves the Declaration deeply, and she challenges anyone she meets to read it. She had the idea a year or so ago that the readings of the Declaration should take place all over, to commemorate 250. And so people could hear it like they did in 1776. So they hear it in public squares, churches, taverns, neighborhoods, and even at home. And we're helping to bring that dream to reality so we can have freedom ring throughout the land, or at least here in Chester County. So we're going to provide you some tools to host a Dare to Declare reading, including toolkits, videos, resource guides, workshops, and various forms of co-promotion. And today what we'll do is first you're going to hear the Declaration of Independence, and then I'll walk you through the resource guides that we have available and how to find them, and then hear what next steps you can take. 2 weeks ago, we spent 2 days recording various folks from all over Chester County reading segments of the Declaration of Independence, including Bertha Jackman. But we also recorded a group of very talented Coatesville High School students who did a wonderful rendition of it. And that's what I'm going to share with you now. This is the rough cut. They're still cleaning it up a little bit more, but we wanted to share it with you just so you can see, feel, and hear the Declaration being read. So I am going to share screen or attempt to, and get this up and running for you. Which is easier said than done, because if I do it just right, I can't touch the play button I discovered when we were practicing this. There we go.
When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them.
Everybody can see
A decent
this.
respect to the opinions of mankind that require that they should declare the cause which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government.
Laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence, indeed, would dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes.
And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, offenses are designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government.
The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good.
He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend them.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the rights of representation in the legislature, a right unestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only.
He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures.
He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people.
He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from, without, and convulsions within.
He has endeavored to prevent the populations of these states from that purpose, obstructing the law of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions of new appointments of land.
He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries.
He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance.
He has kept among us, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of the legislatures.
He is effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation.
For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. For protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. For imposing taxes on us without our consent.
For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses.
For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies.
Or taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government.
For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us.
He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people.
He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete works of desolation and tyranny. already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous age and totally unworthy head of civilized nation.
He has constrained our fellow citizens, taking captive on the 5 seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince, whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant, is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. What have we prevented? Attention to our racial. We have warned them from time to time in attempts by the legislature to extend an unwarranted jurisdiction.
We've reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here.
We've appealed to their native justice and livelihood.
And we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence.
They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assemble,
Appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly punished and declared
That these United Colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states.
That they are absolved from the alliance to the British Crown.
and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be
That as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce,
And to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do.
For the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence.
Okay, I'm trying to escape the BC. There we go. So, hi Dan Campbell. I see you joined us, and Angela snuck in here too. While I was playing the declaration. Just so you're aware, we had 2 weeks ago, we had a variety of folks come in and do readings of pieces of the Declaration of Independence that will eventually be assembled into one large reading. And we also had a wonderful group of young people from Coatesville High School come in, and that was the group that you just saw reading it. And that was our first rough cut of that reading, so of that video. So you'll be seeing more and more of that as time goes on.
Just to of course I'm interrupting, but just such a refreshing thing to watch these high school students read this piece of not just American history, but our current time. It was wonderful, and they totally got it.
Yeah, they did. They were a great group of students. So, and it's a powerful document worth fighting for, timeless, and there were a lot of words. We were all, stumbling over during the practice sessions over some of these words like consanguinity, magnanimity, usurpation, unalienable, perfidy. I kind of envision if he had one, Thomas Jefferson sitting there with a thesaurus working on, coming up with bigger and bigger words as he was going along there. So there's deep meaning behind every word. And, as you're planning your event, if you're incorporating a declaration reading into your 250 planning next year, We hope you're inspired to not only read it, to talk about it, to help your communities explore what it means to them. So with that in mind, we have created 3 guides and some supporting tools for you. What I'm going to do is, yeah, go ahead, Bertha.
Yes, hi. Okay, sorry to interrupt the flow, but can you explain why there's so few of us on here today and that you had another group another day?
We're going to be running this again in November. I think it was under a kind of under the radar for a lot of folks for this month. There wasn't much marketing for it. So we've been working on the watch parties. We've been working on the video. So yeah, it was put out there, but I think we're playing it multiple times. So it'll be up again in November. So honestly, I think a lot of folks are still thinking about, when they can fit it into their schedule. So
Okay, but didn't you have this Zoom last Friday
we
on the
did,
17th?
we did, we
Okay,
did.
and so about how many people participated?
It was very lightly attended as well. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
So okay, so I'm going to start with the event organizer's guide. First, I'm going to pop in the chat the website or web page there. I just popped it in there of where you can find all of this for Dare to Declare. And now I'm going to attempt to, there it is. Oh dear, that is not what I wanted. Oh, my screen sharing's paused. Beth, are you there?
Sorry, yes, I'm here.
Hi, I'm not sure I can share this. I'm gonna try again here.
Okay.
Let me see what the problem is. I'm not entirely sure because it worked earlier when I tried it. Maybe if I get out of the video completely, it'll give me more options. So, all right. Okay, can folks see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is our event organizer's guide. If you, I'm gonna go back. This is the website that I just sent you to, so you'd have it at so you can look at it at your leisure. And on that page, you'll see a number of different toolkits. So it starts out with our event organizer's guide. We also have an MC's guide and a reader's guide, and then a number of supporting tools and toolkits that you can use. So you'll see it as it runs down. Various resources you can use, and some of them are repeated in the guides themselves. So that if you go to the event organizer's guide, you'll see we have an introduction for it. And then it kind of runs through how to put together your Dare to Declare program, things to think about. And of course, we start out with saying, set up a really good planning team that reflects everybody who's works at your organization. It could be volunteers, it could be potential readers, it could be your board president, staff, depending on what your organization is. All of these guides are intended to be scalable, so it could work for the smallest group to a much larger event. Just like we just heard, we're imploring folks to spend some time, read the declaration out loud together, or listen to a video, as like you just did. And think about what it means to you and how a reading might look at your organization. So another important aspect of this, I'm going to scroll up a little bit, is define your audience. Who do you think is going to come to watch a declaration at your organization? It might mean something different depending on what what the audience is, where you're planning to do it, how many people you're thinking of having, how many, if it could be for a huge event, it could be for a small group of students, it could be for an organization with a specific mission in mind. And think about how the rest of your event might, enhance the reading of the declaration too, what else you can do with it. So with that in mind, so think about your audience, then you can determine your location. And I realize this in the number 5, determining the date and time, they kind of go hand in hand, and one sometimes depends on the other. But for the location, we have a number of different, you could do a declaration reading anywhere on courthouse steps. It could be, if you're representing a heritage site, it could be out on the front porch of a heritage site. It could be in a bookstore, whatever. Think about what you do and what venues you have available and how many people you're planning to have or hoping to have, and look at it that way. But this gives you some ideas. Then determine your event format. What's it going to look like? Think about your existing annual events. I know from some of our regional Zoom planning, organizations are planning to have a declaration reading in concert with like a musical program, or they're going to have it as part of their community day. So, at their events, that they might time it at a certain time during the day. They might read it more than once. They may, it's going to be part of a much larger event. It's versus a group might want to have just a focused program on the reading of the Declaration of Independence, and that's all you do. And it's a small group, and maybe you're thinking about discussing it with, in contrast to other documents. It depends, again, this guide is to help you think through the questions that you'll want to know the answers to before the day of your event. And we have some different possible formats that you could think about. I was talking to Troy Grubb, who is the site administrator at Brandywine Battlefield Park. And when they've done declaration readings in the past, they do it with a skit where they have somebody acting the part of a loyalist and somebody acting the part of a patriot, and they kind of go back and forth on their viewpoints towards this idea of this Declaration of Independence. So, so this gives you some ideas of what you could potentially do with your program. And then based on, your brainstorming, you start to put together your unique declaration reading. And this is where this guide somewhat cross-references the other 2 guides. There's information about it's important to have somebody to guide the conversation, to introduce the declaration reading and bring it back once it's over. And so we have some tips for that, as well as for readers. And then we also have sample runs of show, so you can kind of get a sense of how long it might take to do a declaration reading program. We also have some suggestions that if you're thinking about exploring other perspectives, and we've heard of organizations pairing the reading of the Declaration with a reading of another document. One example is the Declaration of Sentiments. Another one is Frederick Douglass's famous speech, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July." There's also Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream." And to look at a completely different perspective of the President Bush's speech, not terribly long ago, 1990, on disability rights, when they enacted the American with Disabilities Act. So you could look at it, depending on what your goals are for your reading, you could consider pairing it up with one of those documents. or you could pair it up with a reading in a different language. And we have some links to different the declaration in different languages, so you'd have that available. And another thing to think about, and this would have worked beautifully for Lafayette's bicentennial visit this past summer, have a reading of another nation's Declaration of Independence. So, if you're thinking of doing something with the French Revolution, that would have worked great back in July. So those are the different, pairings that you could potentially do. There's an innumerable other readings that are out there that you could find. This is just to get your thinking caps, started. And so from there, you have to select your Dare to Declare MC and your readers. And based on our experience in doing the videotaping a couple weeks ago, um, you're going to want to be very careful about your selections for readers. You want people who have a presence. You want people who can project, and people who will spend time with it, with the document, and get all those tricky words right. Uh, and and then from there, be sure you practice your reading and the discussion questions together. I'll show you the discussion questions in the MC guide if you're going to go down that road of having a discussion about the declaration. And then we have a lot of suggestions about other things you could do at your declaration reading. One of our favorites is a wish wall. There is a wish wall initiative that was started by the organization Made by Us and New York Historical, which was formerly the New York Historical Society. They have they started this year having a birthday wish to America. So back during what they have a program called Civic Season that runs from Juneteenth to July 4th. And they promoted and worked with a whole number of museums around the country to create wish walls where they invited attendees to write their birthday wish for America on a card, and they'd either post it up or have them post it up. And it was a very easy lift that any organization can do or any municipality could do. Because one of our suggestions is if a municipality is having their regular Board of Supervisors meeting and they wanted to, have a declaration reading at that, and they were promoting it whichever way they wanted to. That's something you could have up in the room alongside it, and people could write their birthday wish to America on a card or on a post-it note or hang it on a clothesline if you're at having an outdoor event. And then we have some other samples of activities you can have. Children's activities like making tricorner hats or classroom worksheets. You could pair your reading with musical performances, skits, reenactments, like the one I mentioned about at Brandywine Battlefield Park. You could have different patriotic memorabilia. I can say this, giveaways like American flags, red and blue pen, popsicles that are red, white, and blue, you name it. And lastly, we've got some samples of places you can get pocket declaration and constitutions that could be handed out. We're working with the National Constitution Center. We're hoping to be able to have some available through them as well. But there are a couple other sources here, including from one of our resource partners, Dr. Emily Sneff, who is the local expert on the Declaration of Independence. She has her version of the Pocket Declaration. So, so once you have all those pieces, figured out, you have to think about how to leverage your Dare to Declare event, how you could take your Dare to Declare event and use it to, amplify your own organization's mission or whatever you're doing. If you're a township, if there's an initiative you're working on, say you're working with the food bank on something, you could have, your declaration reading and have a food drive or, whatever you're trying to promote at your organization or your municipality, wrap that in. And we also have some thoughts and examples of how to raise funds to support your own Dare to Declare event. And just so you're all aware, come January, we're going to be rolling out some mini grants to support declaration readings in Chester County. So that'll be coming along soon enough. So one thing we're asking, we have all kinds of promotional templates on the website, and I will go back to that in a second. We want to make sure folks have registered. If you, I want to make sure I have the right thing on here. Let me go back. Let's see. There is a place on this page where you can register for your Dare Declare. And when you, and I'm going to go so you can see what it looks like. It's essentially a Google form. You can sign up and then we'll help co-promote your site. And we're hopeful to have a map for this. Let me get back so I can. So if you go down to our web page, I think it's still there. You can see there's a map already. And so when you register your Dare to Declare event, we'll start placing markers on the map of where these Dare to Declare events are happening. I should mention that wish wall initiative I mentioned earlier. They also ask folks to register their wish walls, and they will share them on their national map of wish wall locations. So let me go back and show you. I'm being mindful of the time here. We also, in tandem with the event organizer's guide, there's an organizer's checklist. This is basically this is organized so you could use this for any event planning, not just Dare to Declare. But it kind of covers all the basics, you know, a place that you, as you're planning, you can record information about your events, things you need to figure out, you know, who are the volunteers, you know, how many do you need, who are your partners, what information about your venue, outdoor considerations, your parking. It just helps you work through all the questions about that come up as you're planning an event. So that's the one checklist we include. The other is our team assignment schedule, which is essentially is a place so you can record all your people that you have working on it, and also, you know, their names, their phone and email, so you can get in touch with them, you know, when you need to, and also the arrival time that you want them there at the event. So if your event, and these are all downloadable, and they'll download in Word, I believe, so you can add your own categories to this as you need to. We also have a sponsorship sample letter. So if you're looking to get, you know, business sponsors or individual sponsors, we have a template here that you can draw from to get started so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's an example of that. That's also on this page. And we also have a sample run of show. So you can see how a potential declaration might look like. It has the welcome and introductions. It has, you know, how much time to devote for the reading. There's two versions on here. There's one for a basic, just if you're going to do a reading of the declaration and have a Q&A afterwards. That's the one. The second version, and you can insert your own reading here if you're planning to pair it with a reading of another document, be it, we use the example of the Frederick Douglass speech, but you can insert your reading here, whichever it might be. So it's just a sample to get you started. Now, let me go down to the MC guide. And these are more the MC guide and the reader guide. The MC's guide is if you're planning to have a declaration reading and you also want to have a question and answer period. If you want to have a deeper discussion about what the Declaration of Independence means to you and your community, so we kind of have some tips and tricks for this. and what the role of the MC is. It's essentially, welcome the attendees. You provide an introduction and some context for the declaration. The MC's guide, again, reminds you to practice this all and read the declaration, spend some time of it with your planning committee, and also understand, Dr. Emily Sneff provided us a nice summary of the historical context of 1776 and the writing of the Declaration, so you can have some things to work from, nicely summarized, to talk about it among your own planning team before you decide what to do, or if you want to do a question and answer section in your reading. So we have some tips and tricks again, like how to make spending time and consider the connections between the Declaration of Independence and your audience, and also how to prepare for that discussion. We have a number of sample questions here, and as you'll see, they start with the very basic, easy or light questions, and then they go for deep food for thought. And you can go as, light or as deep as you'd like. We have heard comments from some folks that well, a couple of colleagues have said that, their event's going to be too big. Yeah, they're not going to have room to have a deep discussion about the Declaration of Independence. That they're going to have a reading, they're going to say huzzah, play some music, and then move on. So, and that, if that's what you with the flow of your larger event, that is absolutely fantastic. Go for it. But if you're having more of if you're hoping to have a deeper discussion about what the Declaration means to you and your attendees, here's some resources for that to get you started. We also have some reading recommendations if you want to go even deeper into the history and meanings of the Declaration of Independence. These three sources are the ones that have been recommended to us by Dr. Emily Sneff and others. The first one by Danielle Allen breaks up every single grievance and explains it, and what was going on in the heads of our founders as they were putting all this down on paper. So we also have some thoughts. There have been some concerns expressed about whether or not this is the time to have these deeper discussions, or what happens if somebody comes in and starts arguing with you about the Declaration of Independence for whatever reason. We have some recommendations on having a more thoughtful discussion, and if needed, de-escalation. We just came across a couple great de-escalation resources. One is actually from the library and archives, specifically for library archives and museum staff. So it's very helpful. So, and also lastly, it helps you conclude it gives you some more ideas about how to conclude the reading in a meaningful way. So I'm going to jump back out of this real quickly because I want you to have a chance to ask your own questions, but I want to show you the reader's guide is pretty straightforward. We have some decisions you can make. Are you going to have an individual reader? Are you going to have multiple readers? Pros and cons of both. You saw what it is with the multiple readers with a group. It's a nice community oriented way to do it. But this helps you work through that question. We also have a nice, there's some tips about determining your dress code, so you don't have half your readers showing up in a suit and the other half in jeans and a t-shirt. Do a little bit of coordination of that. Make it intentional as you're doing your reading. We have some examples of good potential readers. And again, we must emphasize, give a lot of thought to who your readers can be, practice it with them, get it down. before you have the public reading, so everyone knows what's going on. And lastly, we have some great theatrical tips courtesy of local actor and producer Steve Lyons. He was nice enough to give us some great tips here. So that is that. I just want to point out a couple other things on here. We have sample reading guides in 18 point and large font for single readers or for groups of 12. So, and also all those various translations and other perspectives. Everything is right here. And then we have a whole myriad, a whole variety of other kinds of resources on the Declaration of Independence. You can spend a day in here poking around on this. So I am going to stop share and see what questions you have for me or for any of us. Go ahead, Bertha.
I just thought it was interesting that as you were going down that whole list, for some reason I was thinking of a question, and then you mentioned something, and so I was thinking of another question.
We tried to do the thinking, to
And-
get it so you wouldn't have to come up with this on your own. So.
Which is great because, literally just before you talked about Steve Lyons, I'm thinking, okay, well, will there be somebody who can do the vocal exercises like he did for us?
He
then
was fantastic, and
showing-
we are talking about having a coaching session with him. We're trying to figure out what that might look like, because if we have every organization sending readers out for his coaching lessons, he might be spending most of 2026 doing lessons. So,
Exactly. I just
so
thought it was,
we're trying to figure out what that could look like.
well, unless you plant little replicas of him in different places, or we can find, and if we can find other voice coaches,
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, I just thought it was funny as you were going down the list. I had my question. You're saying, do you have any questions? Sure enough, you answered it.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
I am glad to hear that, Bertha.
This is quite thorough. Thank you.
Chaz, Chaz is talking to somebody, but I wanted to ask because I think we talked early on. I want to say almost as many as almost 2 years ago that St. David's does and plans to do declaration readings.
Yeah, we are. We're planning a declaration the end of June. And yeah, we've been working on it for quite a while. We're excited
Awesome.
about it. We're trying to do some lectures too. We have a series of speakers coming in the middle of July. And we also have a self-guided tour of the churchyard that we have. We have an older
fantastic.
cemetery, and we have about 15 Revolutionary War soldiers that are buried in the churchyard, including Anthony Wayne, that everybody seems to know.
Yeah.
So we're offering that and we're offering it to all the community. We're hoping anybody that wants to come will come. There's no charge for any of this. We're just doing it as a community connection and honoring the America 250 celebration as well.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah, if you have specific dates, you may have already sent these to Angela. Specific dates, we'll throw them up there on the community calendars too.
That'd be great. Yeah, we'd love to do that publicity. We think that's important, and we'd like to make sure people know about it. And as I said, anybody's welcome to come.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Dan, did you have any questions or queries or thoughts on all this?
No, we've been having a lecture series at Westtown Township about quarterly recently, and this is one of the things that we targeted for 2026. I started researching this by watching a video of actors reading the Declaration in Independence Hall. I posted that in the chat. If you haven't seen it.
Is that the one with everybody?
Everybody,
There's a lot of great actors in that. Yeah.
Yeah, late 20th
That was our
century.
inspiration for our video development. So
Okay. But I like the idea of having youth read it, especially maybe we'll do it in a youth group at church or something like that.
oh, that would be great. So yeah, Steve Lyons coached all of them as well.
Okay.
I think the kids weren't quite sure what was going on there at first, but they knocked it out of the park in the end.
Yeah, they did a good job.
So we'll be having some more intensive workshops starting in January to dive deeper in some of this, how to pick your questions if you're going to have a Q&A. We're hoping to have a more in-depth conversation with Dr. Emily Sneff about the significance of the Declaration and the context, some work with Steve Lyons, some conversations about what other groups have already done in the past and what's worked for them, and feedback that way too. So stay tuned as we develop all that. It's coming.
Thank you.
So, well, if there's nothing else, I will let you all go about the rest of your Monday afternoon. Thank you for coming today, and please let folks know we'll be doing this again in November. Let's see the actual dates. I should have rolling off my tongue by now, but I believe it is I closed out of my my calendar, so I can't even look. I should know this, and I don't, because I did close out my calendar. Doesn't Kim or Angela, do you have it right there by any chance? I'm just seeing if we have it listed on the
Which dates? The dates of future
for the next
info
section.
sessions?
Yeah, the next sections that you could tell your friends, because
November 17th at 4 and November 21st at noon.
that's it. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate that. Yeah, so those will be repeat sessions of today. But if you have, if you know people that you think would benefit from hearing it, or yeah, spread the word. So we can spread the word.
I just put the registration info in the chat that has all the dates.
Great, thanks so much.
There'll be more after the new year.
Yes. Well, thank you, everybody. I will let you go for the day. Thanks for spending the hour with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Bertha. Good to see you again. Good to see you, Chaz. Dan.
Thank you.
Bertha, the other Bertha, who Bertha Short.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Heather, you can stop recording on your end.
Where is that? Oh, there it is.